the discernment that God has for you is not going to be, well, this man prayed a lot. That's a good man, going to heaven. Well, this man sang really well in church, going to heaven. No. It's this man was driven by this. This man was a loving person. This man spent his life in dedication of my service. And he did so for the right reasons. That's what God's looking for in a Christian. Not a series of checklists. And a lot of times we think that's bad. A lot of us sometimes will throw our hands and be like, every time we read this passage in Matthew chapter 6, when God's saying, don't not only kill, but don't get mad. Don't commit adultery, but don't lust. He's making things harder. And it's easy as Christians for us to throw up our hands and be like, I don't understand what you want from me, God. You're not making it clear. In actuality, God is making it clear. And this idea of us focusing on our motivations and intentions not only will make us better Christians, but it will make us better people. God's made the standards harder because we're playing for more. We're playing for Jesus' sacrifice. The way we're working in our lives, the way that we're applying ourselves, the way we need to focus on our intentions and motivations is because we're trying to work for the blood of Christ. Not that we'll ever achieve it. Not that we'll ever achieve the perfection that Christ died for. However, we need to be striving towards it. So once you've sorted out what's dirty and what's clean, it's time you put the clothes in the machine. Now, the first time I ever did laundry, I did this way wrong. Because I figured, yeah, just throw it all in. It'll be fine. I don't see how that would possibly go wrong. And I put in way too much. And none of it got clean. In fact, it just got soggy and moldy and gross, and my mom had yelled at me and redid it. So, we have to mind how much we put in the machine. Can't put too much in, can't put too little in. We have to find the balance. James chapter 2. If you have your Bible, I invite you to turn there with me. James chapter 2. Beginning in verse 17. So also, faith by itself, if it does not have works, is dead. But someone will say, you have faith and I have works. Show me your faith apart from your works, and I will show you faith by my works. One thing we need to understand about Christianity is that it is a two-part sport. It is a two definitely important things. There is the faith element of it. We have to not only believe in God, Christ, Jesus, that He died and that He was resurrected, that His blood offers us salvation, but we have to act in our beliefs. The next verse is really powerful, it always has been. In verse 19, you believe that God is one. Well, you do well. Even the demons believe and shudder. Faith by itself, although good, is not what we need to be focusing on. If we have faith, but we do not act in our faith, then we have nothing. And acting in faith isn't coming to church every Sunday. It's not sitting in here and singing and praying and then that being our work. Faith, if you're acting in your faith, you're acting in your faith day in and day out. The way you act, the way you talk to others, the way you interact with society, the example that you're setting, and your focus on your relationship with God. We talked this morning in Bible class, for those of you who were here, about the idea of praying, and how it needs to be something we need to focus on, work with, and how we need to develop a relationship with God. Likewise, when we are acting in the faith, we work for our relationship with God. We study His Word. We help those around us find God. We talk to God Himself through prayer. We make sure that we are accepting His responsibility to build a relationship with Him. Likewise, if we only have works, there's a lot of people who do great things but aren't Christians. And although the things they do are wonderful, they're not doing it through the faith of God. Therefore, that won't save you. If you spend your entire life doing wonderful things for God, and you became baptized, then you are saved. However, if you just spend a life doing wonderful things and have no intention of believing in Christ, then that itself is not going to get you to heaven. On Judgment Day, God's not going to be, well, you know what? You gave millions of dollars to charity. You spent years in service of others and building homes. Therefore, I'm going to overlook the fact that you didn't believe in me. That's not how that works. If you just have faith without works, you don't have enough. If you just have works without faith, you don't have enough. We have to find the combination of the two. Likewise, just as we can have too little clothes in the laundry, we can have way too much. Mark chapter 7, Jesus is talking to the Pharisees. Mark 7, verse 6. And the Pharisees and the scribes asked him, "Why do your disciples not walk according to the traditions of the elders, but eat with defilers?" And he said to them, "Well, did Isaiah prophesy of you hypocrites, as it is written, 'This people honor me with their lips, but their hearts are far from me. In vain do they worship me, teaching us doctrines of the commandments of men. You leave the commandments of God and hold to the traditions of men.'" Very often, in our pursuit of trying to create the perfect church that follows God's letter words to a T, we oftentimes overstep, just as the Pharisees did. The Pharisees said, "Well, God said this, but let's be safe and let's move the line here," which is a good thing. You want to make sure you're safe, that you're not doing anything wrong. However, over time, this line that they moved to be safe became the new line of what's right and what's wrong. Here Jesus is eating without washed hands because it was ceremonial that every time you ate, you had to wash your hands in a certain fashion. And that was not in the Old Testament. However, they thought it was a good thing, and it was a good thing. But when they said you had to, they overstepped. Likewise, in our lives, we have to make sure that we are constantly going back to the Bible, finding what is right, what is wrong, and not overstepping. Revelation, the end of Revelation says, "Do not add or take away from these words." Do not add or take away from these words. As Christians, we can't do too little for God, and we can't overstep where He hasn't written. We can't make our own rules on Christianity and force them on others. We have to make sure that whatever we're doing because God said so, not because we said so. So once we've found out what's dirty and what's clean, after we've found out the amount we need to put in the wash, we need to find out what goes in to the machine itself. Psalms chapter 90. Psalms 90. Verse 8. "You have set your iniquities before you, our secret sins, in the light of your presence." I have a favorite pair of jeans. I love these jeans. They look good on me. I wear them all the time to dates, everything important. Well, one day I was doing some laundry, threw some cargo shorts in there, threw some pants in there, and there was one pen, a single ink pen, ruined an entire load of my pants. One pen. Relatively small in comparison to all the clothes in there. But that one pen destroyed everything good. David here writes about our secret sins. We don't take ink pens out of our pockets before we try to wash. Everything will be ruined. If we go to God and we're giving Him our life, but we don't remove every sinful element of our life, then that could ruin an entire life of trying to be good. Because of one secret sin. When we go to God, we give our life to Him. We need to give all of our life to Him. Every aspect of it. So that we are faithful and pure all the way through. Because one sin can separate us from God. One act of wrongdoing is enough. There's an old song about, "Can you still feel the nails? Can you still feel the nails every time I fail? Can you hear the crowds cry, 'Crucify again?'" It's a powerful sentiment. And it's true. Every time we fall short of the glory of God, every time we sin is the reason that He hung on that cross. And if we're trying to live for Him, and we consistently fail because we refuse to take an element out of our life, whether it be a group of people, whether it be in music, whether it be movies, something that's holding us back, something that's causing us to sin, to act wrong, and we just consistently live for it, that's the reason He died. And we are taking for granted His sacrifice by not trying to improve. It's an important element we need to focus on. And it's a good sentiment. Can He still feel the nails every time I fail? Make sure we remove our secret sins. And finally, when we're putting clothes in the wash, we have to mind what we're putting in. Whether they be fragiles, whether they be lights, or whether they be darks. Now, I didn't understand this whole idea of fragile clothing, and I started washing some of my mom's nice dresses and whatever. I figured, hey, it's going in a washing machine. It's got some water, some soap. What can happen? A lot can happen. An awful lot can happen. You have to know what you're dealing with. I learned that there's some clothes that go to the dry cleaners. Don't understand that, but it's true. I know there are lights that you have to put on warm water, cold water, darks. You can just do whatever, because you can't break darks. Likewise in our life, there are things that cannot be broken.